And my goal was this. My goal was you're a people. Let yourself be a people. Your kids are people, but you're a people too. You were once a kid. When did you stop mattering?
When you had a child.
Right?
The child was supposed to take, that's supposed to be everything.
Yeah, it's supposed to be everything. So what does that even mean? What does it mean for your child to be everything, and how do we balance it? Hello, pod people. Welcome to this week's episode of Why Do People Do That? So today we're going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I think, Heather, you as well.
Yes.
It's mom guilt. So we're going to talk about what is mom guilt? Why is it a thing? Why don't we ever hear anyone talking about dad guilt? And I think most importantly, unpack it in a way that can be educational and helpful to the people at home and maybe even ourselves. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think a good place to start is...
What is mom guilt?
A definition. So what is it to you? Let's each talk about how we see it and what we think it is.
This idea that I should be doing, here's me shooting on myself, but
Yeah.
this picture of what a parent should be doing or what I should be doing as a mother and kind of falling short of that. You know, when not being able to be there and to do everything that I want to be able to do for my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot of, there's this, I guess the should comes from this idea that there is some sort of a formula for the way moms are supposed to be, right? And I think that it is the same for me. I think it's probably the same for most of us, right? There's this idea of what is a good mom, right?
Yes.
And so if we think about what is a good mom, guilt, I think in general, if we just look at the definition of the word guilt, guilt is the idea that we're doing something wrong. And what determines whether something is right or wrong comes from the set of values that we create around something. Right? So we'll have a value on what is being a good mother. And then if we're not meeting our own values, right, then there's that idea that we're doing something wrong. And then therein comes the guilt. And the guilt is an emotion. It's a feeling that we feel inside of ourselves. And it's also, I guess, in some ways language, right, where we're telling ourselves.
Yes, it's that negative self-talk.
Yep.
You're not good enough. You're not doing enough.
Yeah. So I think my next question then for both of us to ponder is, where does this set of values come from with which we judge what a mother should be?
I think it starts out with our upbringing and what we've seen mothers to be. I mean, you can look kind of historically at the role of the mother, but I think so much of it too is what we're exposed to on television, what TV families look like, and what the mom's role is there, and unfortunately social media. I mean, you see people blogging and putting out, you know, the perfect family photo, or even like Pinterest. You know, these mom things. Pinterest was the death of me when the stupid elf on the shelf was around.
So tell me about that. What was that like for you? What were you seeing and how did it impact you?
I was seeing these full-on, like the elf is just supposed to move around the house, but people were making these scenarios and these whole scenes and this, like, I would spend my day cutting things up and like putting things together in order to bring home and have like the elf in the car with the Barbie and like tiny little sodas in the car and like ridiculous things because it was what was on Pinterest and other moms were doing it. And I wanted my daughter to have that experience.
And you felt like if she didn't have that experience, you were not meeting your own values as a mother?
Yes.
That's what happened,
Yes.
right? I remember seeing somebody post on Facebook. I'm not on Pinterest because I'm not a crafty mom. So I've never even looked at Pinterest other than maybe
You're better off.
to buy something once in a while, but whatever. I remember seeing on Facebook, somebody went as far as to like, I guess, I don't know how they did it, but they stuck little Hershey Kisses in the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
And then they like strapped the elf onto the toilet so it looked like the elf took a dump in the toilet and it was just chocolate. And I was just like, I don't have time for that. Like, that's way too much work. Like, I literally, like, I was lucky if I had enough time to move the elf from one room to another. I was just like, I did it. I took the elf out of the bedroom and I put it in the refrigerator. That was my creativity
I had an 11
for the
o'clock
day.
elf alarm every night. But I'm like crafty and I enjoyed
Yes.
doing that.
Yeah.
But, it was some next level shit that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of or,
Yeah.
done. And I felt like I felt like I had to do it. I enjoyed doing it. I wanted to do it, but I did feel a certain kind of like obligation to my daughter's childhood and to just do that for her.
Yeah, because once you see that this is the way it's going, this is what moms are doing, right? Then you start to have this inner dialogue. If this is what the other moms are doing,
What's wrong with me that I can't do it?
then this must be what you're supposed to do if you're a mom. And then if I can't do it, there's something wrong with me, or I'm not measuring up to the value of what a mother is. And if I'm not measuring up to the value of what a mother is, I'm doing something wrong to my child or to my children. And then what? Right? So there's this constant need to do better and to be better, right? Which is always evolving, right? So if we go back, like, let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to like the 1950s. Let's go back to before social media, before Pinterest was a thing, and no one could even imagine what Pinterest is. And moms weren't able to see in real time every single day what other moms were doing. And there was just a value of what being a mother was. I'm wondering, did mom guilt exist back then? What did it
Probably.
look like? And how is it worse today?
Well, I think, honestly, if you're looking at the 50s, the mothers stayed home. So, you fast forward to now where working mothers are supposed to be able to do all of the mom things and also have a full-time job and then create some kind of a, work-life balance, which is absolutely impossible.
It's impossible.
It's more like it's a seesaw. It's one is always going to be more than the other. It's never straight.
Right. So I think, right, so the reason I wanted to do kind of like a backtrack is because there was a time when there was not an expectation on women to do anything really other than taking care of the home, the cooking, the cleaning, the caretaking of the children. That was the female role. Whether you agree with that or not, or that's the way it should be, is not the topic of conversation. That's a whole other podcast. However,
we're talking in the 50s.
In the 50s, this was the norm. Not saying that there weren't women who worked, there were, but it wasn't the norm. And so the expectation on the woman was, this is your focus, this is what you do. So here we are today. We've evolved in a sense that women are now working more than they're not. There aren't as many women out there that are stay-at-home moms that aren't working, where this is their only thing that they're doing, like it was back then. Right? There is a need for them to provide. There is a need for them to contribute financially to the family. There is a want and a desire to have something other than
identity, other than just being a parent.
Want to do a career. They want to do something. Challenge themselves, learn, grow, have a career, be independent in case they ever need to be, and that's all amazing stuff. But the but is, they still have the same expectation on them that was on them back when it wasn't the norm for them to be doing all of these other things. So now, what happens to the mom who needs to be the mom, and there's this expectation on her that she's the one getting the kids up for school, packing the lunch, getting the kids on the bus, being there at the end of the day, or worrying about the babysitter who's going to get the kid off the bus if she's not able to be there, and what does she do if the kids are sick, and homework, and
kid's sick.
And what?
The kid's sick.
Yeah, oh my God.
Always the mom who has
It's
to
always
stay
the mom. It's always the mom, right? I know it's not always the mom, but it feels like that, right? I think more often than not.
The assumption is that mom will stay home.
Mom's the one who stays home most of the time, right? And so now you've got it's become normal, right, for women to have careers and to be working and to have all these other responsibilities on them. But
without ever taking away that first group of expectations.
exactly.
The house, the children, the dinner, the laundry, all of that.
Exactly. So they still have that same pressure and responsibility of the stay-at-home mom, but they're not a stay-at-home mom anymore. And again, I don't want to say that there aren't households where things are not shared, where there aren't men, dads, husbands that step up and say, hey, we're both working, let's divide and conquer. I think there are, but I feel like even in those homes, the women are still struggling a little bit with allowing that without feeling like they're doing something wrong. Even if they have an amazing husband who says, hey, we're both working. Last time the kid was sick, you stayed home. This time I'm going to stay home. Let's divide and conquer dinner. I'll go food shopping this time. You go food shopping. Even if it's divided, I think because society still has an expectation on the woman, the mom, to be the one who's doing these things, that even when they don't have to in their own home, there's still that guilt that pops up. And what I mean by that is there's still this feeling of, am I failing as a mom because I'm letting my husband do that and I should be the one doing that? I should be the one giving the kid a bath. I should be the one taking the kid to school. I should be the one doing X, Y, Z. Is it okay that I'm letting my husband do it? Am I a failure as a mom? Would I be embarrassed to let people know that my husband's doing the mom work and I'm not doing it? What does that mean about me as a mother?
It's a hard thing to kind of manage. And I'm just, thinking about my own relationship, and my husband, he does the food shopping. He does the laundry. He swifts.
Yeah.
He does love to swift.
Yeah.
He does so much to help. And it's still like, I feel like I'm missing out on, because of my job, like I'm not there for things, or because I have other responsibilities, like that I will miss a softball game, and it's heartbreaking. It's hard.
It is hard. I mean, oh my gosh. I remember there were times when both my kids had a game at the same time, right? Like my son would have a basketball game and my daughter would have a basketball game on the same day at the same time. And I would be like, literally, it ripped me to pieces because no matter who I showed up for, I felt like I was failing the other one because I had to be at everything. And if I wasn't at everything, I was doing something wrong. And it's like, but you can only do so much. I mean, I would be at the supermarket going food shopping for the family. And I would feel guilty that I was at the supermarket and I wasn't at home with the kids. I would be at work and I would feel bad that I was at work and I wasn't sitting in the kitchen doing homework with them. I should be doing homework with them. I shouldn't be at work, but I need to be at work because I need to make a living to pay for things for my kids. So I feel like the mom experience is this constant feeling of wherever you are, and whatever
you're somewhere else.
You're doing, you should be.
You're doing it wrong.
Right, you're doing it wrong. You should be doing something better. You should be doing it stronger. You should be multitasking better. You should be. And I think it goes even further to say, I've seen online, like on social media and stuff like that through the years, in, mom groups that I don't belong to anymore because they're so toxic. But I've seen in mom groups on all different kinds of sites over the years, battles between the stay-at-home moms and the working moms. And you know why they're fighting with each other?
The working mom the stay-at-home mom is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And the idea that they're not working and the other person is. Like when I was home with my daughter, like I couldn't wait for John to get home. The minute he walked in the door, I would throw child at him. Like, here, I just spent the last 12 hours with her. It's your turn now. Well, I was working all day, and it became that argument of, you don't think this is work? This is absolutely work. And it took a while to kind of navigate that.
Yeah. So how did you feel as a stay-at-home mom at that time, staying home with the kid, about the moms who were out there working?
I knew it's weird because I knew I would be back to that soon. And when I was home with her, I
Yeah.
really missed and longed for kind of adult human conversation and not just
Going back to
cooing
work.
and yep.
Yeah.
And then when I went back to work, my daughter had been breastfeeding and wouldn't eat, would not drink for my mother. I mean, and this horrible, horrible guilt of, oh my God, my daughter is going to starve and die so I can come here and do this.
But you wanted to be there.
I did.
It's important to you. It's
Yes.
part of who you are, right? So that's the issue. I think the reason that the stay-at-home moms are, not all of them, right? The ones that I saw fighting, I'm talking about, the stay-at-home moms have some resentment towards the working moms is because there's a part of them, maybe, that wants to be at work too, and maybe they feel guilty that they want to be at work. I should want to just be home with my kids. I should be grateful for this opportunity. I should love this. But maybe I don't. Maybe I really love my kids, but I miss going to work. I miss adult conversation. I miss being productive in different ways. I miss having those goals for myself. But I feel badly. I feel guilty that I want those things or that I miss those things, because what does that mean about me as a mom? Does that mean I'm not enjoying
Like
my
being
time
a parent
with my
should
child?
be enough.
It should be, and you should love this opportunity, right? And then you've got the working moms, and again, not all of them, the ones that are having a hard time, which is a lot of them, right? Who look at the stay-at-home mom and they think, well, you're lucky. You get to stay home with your child. I had to come back to work. I didn't have a choice because my family needed this income, and you're at home and you're not working. And so there's that a little bit of that resentment that they're feeling because they feel guilty that they couldn't stay home. They feel guilty that they have to be at work, right? So what I'm talking about here is this vicious, never-ending cycle of, it's the plight of the woman. No matter where you are, you feel like you're doing something wrong. If you're staying at home, but you long to be at work.
When you're at work, you want to be home.
Right. And when you're at work, you feel like you should want to be at home, and you should be at home, and you're doing something wrong because you have to work. But if you're at home and you want to work, God forbid, you don't have to work, but you're just doing it because you want to, right? Let's say, for shits and giggles, your husband makes enough money and you don't have to work, but you want to, right? How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare
want to
you?
have something for yourself.
Right. And then imagine you are a working mom, and so you're at work, you're with the kids, you're at work with the kids, and then once in a while your friends reach out and say, hey, let's do a ladies' night, let mom's night out. And now you're like, how can I do that? I'm at work all day. I don't get to see the kids. So when I'm home at night, I can't do something for myself because that's my time for my kids, because I'm at work during the day. So I can't go to work. I can't go out with my, my friends and do something nice for me, right? But then you know what society does, right? We fuck with the mom and we say to mom, but it's good for your children.
You need to,
It's good for your children.
And
It's self-care.
Replenish that. If you're always giving to other people, there's nothing left.
For your children, right? So the only way mom feels good about going out for mom's night is if we trick her into believing that she's doing it for her kids. And she is. It's not even a trick. It's real. You really are. But you're also doing it for you. And isn't that okay? Can't that be okay?
It can, but it's not the message we're really receiving.
No, that's the problem. It is not the message we're receiving. The message we receive is it's okay to do something for ourselves because it's benefiting the people we have to take care of. It's not okay to do something for ourselves because we matter too. That's not the message, right? We're always talking about the oxygen mask. And, I talked about that with Gina when she was here talking about divorce a couple weeks ago, and she had brought it up. And, it's something we bring up all the time is you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself
before
first,
helping anybody else. Yep.
Otherwise,
you're no good to anybody else.
You're going to pass out. You're literally not functional.
Then you can't save the entire plane.
You can't save the whole plane, right? But why can't it just be put the oxygen mask on yourself because you want to live and you want to breathe and you need the oxygen? What if you didn't have anyone to take care of on the plane? Is it okay to put the oxygen mask on yourself? Well, yes, because you have children to come home to, right? We're never, ever just getting the message that we should do things for ourselves because we matter.
Yeah.
Where does that message come from?
From society, from social media, from other people.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right? And so where do we ever get the message that we should do things for ourselves just because?
No, it's always in service of like, you should take, take time for yourself and self-care so you can continue to be there for other
To
people.
take care of everyone else. So let's start here, right? The Why Do People Do That podcast is making a statement, moms, that it's okay to do something
for yourself.
Just because you matter too. Right? It's good that it's good for your children, and it's good for your husband, and it's good for maybe the elderly parent you have to take care of, or your job and the people that are counting on you at work. But it's also okay to do it for you because you're you. And you're you, and you
have your own needs, and they should be valued and respected and honored.
Yeah, and it's okay to do that. I think the problem is that in society, we've gotten to this place where the value has become being the caretaker. And that's, I think, that goes back years and years and years. I mean, hundreds of years. Is that the woman's role? Mom's role, wife's role, woman's role.
The house and the kids.
Is the caretaker, right? We're the caretaker. We're the caretaker when the parents get older and sick. We're the caretaker for the children. We're the caretaker for the husband. We're the caretaker for our neighbors and our friends. It's always the women who come forward and say, this is my role, and this is the message that we've been getting since the dawn of time. But society is changing, and the demands on us are changing, and we're constantly at odds with innately what our role has been generationally and what our expectation is actually today. And you brought up social media before. I think social media has by far created so much more stress on that.
Absolutely. You see pictures of families doing certain things, and you measure yourself against that.
Constantly, right? We talked about the pictures on Facebook. My favorite
the holidays,
thing. Here's all the presents under the tree that I took care of and I wrapped perfectly and matching paper and ribbons and blah, blah, blah. And here's the Thanksgiving dinner, right? Look, here's my kid playing soccer, and here's my kid playing this, and here's my kid doing that. And
vacations. Vacations are big ones.
Yes. Yeah, even houses. Sometimes you look at pictures of, they'll take a picture of their kids or whatever in their house, and you're looking at the house in the background, and you're like, oh, she decorates so much better than I do, and her house is so much neater. And look, she doesn't have crap all over her kitchen counter. How does she manage to do that? And I can't. It piles everywhere, right? We are just forever comparing ourselves.
And that, starts that internal dialogue and those, negative self-talk of, I'm not good enough. I don't have a house as neat as her. My kids aren't happy as her kids look. We didn't take as many vacations as they did.
Yeah. Oh, look, that family, they're taking their kids to Disney for February break, and we can't afford to go to Disney. Or I can't take off from work, or I had to take too much time off for when my kids were 6, and now I don't have any
vacation time.
So I'm not good enough. I'm a failure as a mom. Right?
It's amazing. It's sort of universal, because I think every mom feels that way.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised to find someone who doesn't.
Yeah. So it's interesting. This has been a topic that has fueled me for a very, very long time. So I had literally started 2 businesses totally circling around this topic that both
supporting moms
failed. They both failed. And so I want to talk about that for a minute, because I think it's very significant. Okay. So one of the businesses was called Club Mom. Club Mom, I know you know.
I know.
But I'll just tell you for the benefit of everybody out there that doesn't. So Club Mom was a wellness center for mothers. And the whole mission of Club Mom was that moms lose their identity in the role of parenting because they get this message passed down from them through society that tells them that it's not okay for them to take care of themselves, right? That they can be a mom. And being a mom is an amazing thing. I'm a mom. You're a mom. Being a mom is wonderful. And it's also okay to love your children and make them a priority. I certainly prioritize my children. I put them above everything. But that doesn't mean that you just completely
at the expense of yourself.
Knocked off the priority list altogether, right? You can still be on the priority list. I think moms think like the minute the kids go on the priority list, mom just ceases to exist on that list. And so my mission, and I don't remember what the mission statement was of Club Mom, but in the mission statement, it was something about making sure you keep yourself on their priority list. And you know how important it is to take care of yourself and that you are human and you have to give yourself permission to be human. This business failed. Why do you think this business failed?
Was society not ready for it?
Yes, that is why it failed. So here's what Club Mom offered. Club Mom offered, I mean, I probably went a little too far. I tried to offer everything. Club Mom had yoga. Club Mom had Zumba. Club Mom had a babysitting room.
Well, that's the
for
key.
you to bring your children so that there was
really
no excuse not to come.
And not just babysitting. I mean, it was like, you know, a whole play area for them. So it's not just sticking them like with, you know, person. It's like they were interacting with other children too. So it was beneficial for them, which sort of alleviated some of the guilt of, I'm going to take a 1-hour yoga class for myself.
And put your kid in a cage and starve them to death, right? They were in this cute little playroom with a babysitter that was lovely and other children. And so there was no excuse for I can't go because I don't have anyone to watch my kids. So the playroom was open whenever we were. And there was workshops. Also, I mean, I literally tried to offer everything from writing workshops to Reiki workshops, to meditation workshops, to, learn about insurance workshops, everything, financial planning workshops. I had mom's night out. I had chocolate tasting night. I had come and put your feet in a spa night. I had, learn how to be a better sex partner night. I had single mom's night. I had every freaking night you could possibly think of. I really thought the chocolate tasting night would sell it. And yes, the babysitting room was open on mom night. Right?
Yeah.
Do you know how many people came to those nights?
I don't.
Crickets came. Crickets came to those evenings. On chocolate tasting night, I remember, and this was a long time ago, I had 2 people. On Stick Your Feet in a Spa night, no one came.
You could have marketed it better than Stick Your Feet in a Spa.
I'm sure I did.
That was the problem.
I'm sure I did. It was like Pamper Yourself night. Pamper Yourself night. No one. Not me. Me. I was there. Me. The person
who were in a spa.
The person who was going to run it, and Linda, who was my partner. The 3 of us showed up for Stick Your Feet in a Spa night. It was lovely. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it. My kids were hanging out in the playroom. They had a good old time, and that was it. No one came. No one came. However, you know what night everybody came to?
Bring dad to the mom's club night?
No.
What do you got? I'm stumped.
Whenever I did an event for the children.
Okay.
So like if it was like a break from school week, like February break or spring break or whatever, I would have events for the kids, even though it was a mom's place. I felt like it was a release, a relief, a place for moms to come to when their kids were home, gave them something to do, mingle with other moms. I also felt it was good for marketing because it would bring people in the door. So I had like a clown night, or I had like a pet store come and bring animals, come and pet the animals for the kids. Packed. Like literally no room in the place.
Because people will do things for their kids.
People will do anything for their children. Moms. Moms will do anything for their children, but not for themselves. The only event that I got moms to show up for that were not for the children were the mompreneur events.
Yes.
I had a mompreneur networking event at Club Mom I think I had 76 people show up. So 2 people show up for chocolate tasting night, which is just a fun night to mingle with other moms and eat chocolate. I mean, who doesn't like chocolate? Psychopaths. That's who doesn't like chocolate, right? So 76 people show up for a networking event. You know why?
Because they were working and they were
Yes.
struggling and they were looking to connect with other people that could identify with that and support other moms.
They could justify it because it
Was work.
benefited the family because it was a way to make money. If I can get my business going, then maybe I can quit my job and be home with my children. If I could get my business going, then there'll be money for that trip to Disney. If I can make more money, then maybe I'll be able to start a college fund for my kid, right? The mompreneurs, they showed up. They showed up for my accelerator workshops. They showed up for my networking events. Anything mompreneur related, I mean, it was just like line at the door. But anything that was just for mom,
Because we don't feel we're entitled to do that.
yeah. Right. So I create this business to save the moms. Club Mom, you had no excuse not to come. It was cheap. It was babysitting. It was local. It was easy to come to. We had all different hours, all different events, all different things to do. I even had a lounge. You could put your kid,
You had like a coffee bar area.
just sit
to
on a couch and complete a sentence without being interrupted 900 times, which is so good for your mental health. No. No, and everyone's like, that's the greatest idea. I thought it was brilliant. And I was like so
was brilliant.
excited. I'm going to, really enhance the mental health of moms everywhere, because I remember at the time, the statistic was 57% of mothers report feeling depressed and overwhelmed, and nobody wanted to come, which tells us exactly what you said. Moms don't feel entitled to be able to do something that's just for them.
And they feel bad that they're having these feelings. This is, I wanted this child. I love this child. This should be enough. I shouldn't be complaining. I shouldn't, again with the shoulds, I shouldn't have to, need time away. I remember dropping my daughter off with my mother. And, I wanted so badly to have an afternoon to myself. And the whole afternoon, it was like, I'm such a shitty person that I miss her. I want to be with her. I should cut my day early and go back. I couldn't really allow myself to enjoy it because I felt like I should be with her.
Right.
But then when I was with her, it was like, I just need a break.
Yeah, because the guilt is, again, there's a value, and the value is fed to us through generations that you're supposed to want to be with your children. And if you're not with your children when you can be, you're doing something wrong. Right? When you just said that, it brought me back. I remember, it was so crazy how this worked out for me. But I worked full time and I had my kids and I was a single mom. So I didn't get really much help or relief. Everything was on me. And every once in a while I would take a day off from work while the kids were at school so that I could just have a day. And it was just a day to do whatever I needed to do. And if it was literally to just stare at the wall and drool, then so be it. If it was because I was just really overwhelmed and needed to clean out a closet and I just couldn't find the time to do it and I needed a day to do it, And so I remember this one day I was just like, this might be too much information, but whatever, just throw it out there. I really needed new bras. And I was just
I thought you were going somewhere completely different.
Yeah, this is
women wear bras. That's not.
Yeah,
that's not controversial.
Not shocking. But anyway, I needed bras really badly. They were ripping and whatever. And I was just like, I'm going to take the day off and I'm going to go to the mall by myself. I mean, it's an amazing experience when you have little kids to go to the mall by yourself. And I dropped the kids off at school and I went home and I got myself ready and I was like, this is going to be a great day. I was in the car. I was blasting my music. I wasn't listening to Bluetooth in the car. And I was just singing my songs and I'm like, woohoo, this is the greatest day ever. And I get to the mall.
Last?
Oh my God, 4 seconds. I literally got to the parking lot. I didn't even get out of the car and my phone starts ringing and I looked at my phone and guess who it was?
It was the school.
It was the school nurse. And the first thought in my head was, God damn it, you have to get sick today, right? Which of course, as a mom, How do you say that? Like you're angry at your kid for getting sick on your day off? And I was just like, you're ruining mole day. I need bras. So I answer the phone and the nurse is just like, I have Brandon here. He just threw up. And I'm like, well, do you think he's sick?
Is an hour, if it takes me an hour to get there, is that the worst
Is
thing?
it possible that was just a fluke thing and it's not going to happen again? But I didn't say that. I was just thinking it in my head. And of course, now I turn the car back on and I was so upset. And the worst part of it was how bad I felt about myself for being upset. You know what? I was entitled to be upset, right? I took the day off from work to have a day for myself, which was hard because I really needed the money. And so that was tough for me to give up the money that day, to take that day off.
But you allowed yourself
I allowed it. I justified it in my head, and it was not an easy decision, and I let myself do it. So I was devastated driving to pick up my kid, and I felt guilty because I was like, I'm not worried about my son throwing up. I'm worried about the fact that
I still don't have bras.
I didn't get to get a freaking bras. It was the whole point of my day. And I just felt bad the whole day. The whole day I felt bad because I felt that I was supposed to have a different response. I went and got my kid. I picked him up. I took him home. I took care of him. I laid with him. I gave myself a stomach virus. I was vomiting the next day. I did what moms do, and I love my son to death, and he knows that. But on that day, I was disappointed. And I hate that I had to feel guilty about the fact that I was disappointed instead of just allowing that experience and saying it's okay. Right? And that's what we have to fix here. Right? Because that's what we do to ourselves.
To just allow ourselves to have those feelings.
Yeah, without feeling like you're a bad person, without having this value of having to be this superhuman person, this superhero, right? We picture mom as like with capes, right? Like we're not human, we don't have feelings, and it's okay to be disappointed that you don't get to do something because your kid gets sick on the day that you, doesn't mean you don't love your kid or that you don't feel badly that they're sick, right? Both can be true, right? And I think that we fail ourselves in really being able to allow that, right? That you can both love your child and feel badly that they're sick, but also be disappointed that now you have to cancel your plans. Both are okay. This part, right? The being disappointed part doesn't make us bad people or bad moms. And I think society tells us it does.
Yes, it absolutely does. That's the message, that you are not really entitled to your own feelings, your own life. It should be about the kids.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So my other business that failed was a business called Parents Are People.
Oh, shit. I
You remember
forgot about
Parents Are
that.
People?
Yes.
That goes way back. We're talking like 17 years ago, right? So yes, dads, I included you in this one. This wasn't just Moms Are People. This was Parents Are People, right? And so the goal of Parents Are People was to create, it was a social media site. It started as a website, and it was supposed to be an online community, a place for parents to come to be able to get support through groups, joining groups, social supports, resources, connecting them with therapists and professionals. And, it was just, content, articles, it was really kind of bringing together mental health professionals and parents. And it was supposed to just be this community of parents that, was getting the support that they needed and, trying to create this, I guess, supportive kind of, I guess I was trying to really rewrite the narrative. Parents are people, right? You matter too. That was my goal. No one was interested. No one found it interesting. So at some point, I abandoned the website and made it into a magazine. So you ever go to those places and there's like parenting magazines that are free that you just pick up?
Yep.
It was that. So we had like a route, and we had places that had agreed to allow us to drop our free magazine, and it was funded through advertising. Places would advertise in it. And I wrote articles for this magazine, and I loved writing these articles, and all of the articles were really focused around self-identity, finding yourself, allowing yourself to, um, do the things that, you want to do for yourself. I remember I had a column in it that I loved writing called like Keyhole into the Mind of a Supermom. And I would literally just write crazy things that happened in my own life that week or that month or whatever. And just like the insanity of being a mom. It was almost like blog style. And my goal was this. My goal was you're a people. Let yourself be a people. Your kids are people, but you're a people too. You were once a kid. When did you stop mattering?
When you had a child.
Right?
The child is supposed to take, that's supposed to be everything.
Yeah, it's supposed to be everything. So what does that even mean? What does it mean for your child to be everything, and how do we balance it?
I don't know that you can ever really balance it. I think it's going to, you were holding two things in your hand. I think it's always going to be something is getting more than the other at any given time.
Yeah. I think for me, my kids probably will always get more than me. That's just how I'm wired. And I accept that because I'm never going to change that about myself. I'm always going to make my kids a priority. But that doesn't mean I can't be too. There's room for both of us. Right. And as your kids get older, they need less and they need different things. And there's more room for you. And it's okay to make that room, because if you don't make that room, what happens is your kids do create their own lives at some point, God willing, right? And they are out in the world doing their thing.
And needing you less and going to their friends. And then you're stuck with just you.
And then what?
And you've kind of cut yourself off from friends. You have no real identity other than being someone's mom. And then what?
Yeah, you have that moment where you're sitting on the steps of your house, trying not to get emotional, and you're like, okay, the kids are at school, and I don't know what to do with myself because I haven't done things for myself in so long that I don't know what doing something for myself even feels like. What do I like to do? What are my interests? I've done workshops with women where, and I tried to do this at Club Mom, but nobody cared. But I've done this with my individual patients where I say, I want you to tell me the things you used to do before you had children. What did you do? What were some of your hobbies that you really enjoyed that you don't do anymore? And there's always stuff. Right? If you think about it right now, can you think of something you did before you had Callie that you don't do anymore?
Well, I was thinking, going out, but that was just a whole time frame. That's different. Wouldn't be doing that now.
Socializing. Yeah.
No, but I think doing like art stuff. Like I used to sit and create things.
Yeah.
And I think it shifted into creating really ornate elf on the shelf crap. But it's something I've continued to do, just differently and less. It did definitely, get kind of shelved for a while.
But now she's older.
Yeah.
So you have the time. So moms usually, and dads too, I think, have things that they stopped doing at some point because life gets in the way. It could be the full-time job. It could be the relationship, the marriage. And a lot of times it's kids. And sometimes couples even themselves stop doing things together because everything revolves around what the kid needs. On the weekend, the kid has birthday parties and this and this and that. And you're tired and you can't get a babysitter. It's too expensive. You stop doing stuff. And when you stop engaging in the things that are a part of who and what you are, you do lose a part of your identity. You lose a part of yourself. And there's an emptiness that comes from that, and a feeling of depression and a disconnect. And then when all of a sudden your child gets older and they don't need you so much anymore, and you do start to have time that you don't have to balance, it's just there in front of you, you don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
And that creates depression as well, and anxiety.
Yep. That's like a crisis mode. Like,
Yes.
who am I? I've been defining myself as a mother and a caretaker for so long. Now that she's, doesn't need me, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah. And that's where we get the term empty nest, right? When kids go off to college or they move out and you've got a mom who didn't work because she dedicated her life to, raising her children, which is fine if that's what you choose to do and you're able to do that, that's great. But then there's that,
Now what? Yeah.
I'm mom. Sometimes you see people's emails are, so-and-so's mom, or you'll see like their username for something is mom of 3 or
my TikTok is mom of Cal. Really more just to screw with her and follow her on TikTok.
That would be something you would do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I see that all the time. It's like this loss of identity that you don't even realize is happening. And again, it's so okay to love your children and prioritize them. But you know what? Like, be Heather, right? You don't have to be mom of Cal. You don't have to be mom of 3. You don't have to be mom of 3 girl. You don't have to be,
Mom, yeah.
Dog mom, 3
Boy
boys
mom.
Yep. Brian's mom. Just be Stacy, be Heather, right? Be Linda and Tanya and Betty. Just be who you are.
Enough.
That is enough. Just be who you are. You can be someone's mom, but still be yourself, right? So it's about, again, the balance of giving yourself permission to stay connected. And this is for the dads too. I've come across dads who have been like, well, I stopped playing golf on Sundays or finding time to play golf because I feel like it's the wrong thing to do. I should be home with the family and with the kids. And I don't want to leave my wife on a Sunday morning. It's selfish. Right. And now all of a sudden, here they are. It's been 10 years since they played golf, but they really loved it. Right. You should play golf. You should. Maybe you can't do it every Sunday. Maybe you can. It really depends on your situation. But you know what? If you love to play golf, you should play golf. If you love to go to a football game with your friends once in a while, right? You should go to a football game with your friend. I feel like I have to include the dads, even though dad guilt isn't a thing really we hear so much about.
No.
That doesn't mean that there aren't dads out there that feel guilty. I'm sure there are.
But I think the mom guilt is just a universal
It's an epidemic.
An expectation on moms that's kind of different than dads. The expectation of dads is really to be the breadwinner, to work.
Yes, but that's not really happening so much anymore. Not that dads aren't breadwinners, but moms are breadwinners too.
What's so funny is I would go to a PTA meeting at the school and it was like a man would walk in and it was like, oh my God, it's a dad. Like it was really shocking because it was
all unusual.
Yes, because it's all the mothers.
Yeah, that's the mom thing.
Like, oh, dad, come sit down. It's a dad here.
Right. It's so exciting, right?
Because it was unexpected. It was not the norm.
No, it's not.
Moms are expected to go to the PTA and to go to all of the school events.
Yeah, I mean, that's who's at the book fair, right? I volunteered for those things because, I wanted to show my kids as much as possible that I could show up at these things. And I couldn't do it all the time because I did work full time, but I always worked for myself. So I was able to take days off here and there. And I would go to these things once in a while because it made my kids, I don't think my daughter liked it. She was kind of like, what are you doing here? But I think my son liked it. And so I would volunteer for these things. And it was always the moms.
I'm a little jealous that you did that because I feel like a shitty parent that I didn't do those things at the school.
You are a shitty parent. How dare you? I will bet you $1 million Callie's going to end up in therapy because you didn't volunteer at the book fair.
Oh, there's a laundry list of reasons why Callie will end up in therapy and me not being at the book fair, not on it.
People at home, I'm kidding, right? I'm just fucking with Heather. Because you know what? You do so many things for Callie that's not going to be the breaking point. You don't have to be at the book fair.
And it's weird because I'm kind of looking at my own, like where that comes from, because there were only 3 moms there. Like it wasn't
everyone's mom.
Yeah. But, growing up, I had a mom, had a single mom who worked, and most of my friends' moms were all stay-at-home moms. And I remember like feeling angry about that she had to work, that, she couldn't pick me up from school at 3:00 when other kids did. I had to wait till 4:30 at my grandparents' house for my mother to come home. So my mother, and she did everything that she could for me, but, and would take days to do things, but she wasn't at the book fair either. And now here I am kind of perpetuating this, I'm not at the book fair.
I will say though that today there's way more moms working than when we grew up, right? I I don't. I think that a lot of moms work. Most moms work that I know here on Long Island. I
Yeah,
think you
you
have
have
to.
to. Yep.
It's too expensive to live here. Just be a single parent household, but that's okay. I don't think we're screwing up our kids, right? Callie's not screwed up because you're not at the book fair, because everyone's mom is, lots of moms work. It's a little bit different than when you grew up. But like, that's kind of like what we were talking about before, that society is so different today, right? Like it was a little bit different when you were growing up, even than today growing
Yeah.
up, right? So there's this expectation that you're still supposed to keep up the norms of 50 years ago, even though today,
Plus the additional added pressure of now you've got a full-time job.
right, right. And you have to have that full-time job, right? Because there's bills to pay. Eggs are expensive, apparently, right? It's all of that. So I do want to make you read for us
Okay.
this speech that I think probably everyone has heard at this point, but I really want to kind of bring it into our discussion here before we run out of time.
Okay.
Because I think it really speaks so eloquently to what we're talking about today. And the reason I'm going to make you read it is because I can't get through it without sobbing. So this is the speech from the Barbie movie. It's the speech that America Ferrara,
Yep.
is her name, says at some point when she really realizes that the role for women is so pressured and so stressed and so impossible that even a Barbie can't handle it. It's even too hard for a doll that represents a woman, right? And it's so powerful. And so I love this speech because it really just brings together, it strings together all the things we're talking about today and how ridiculous it is.
All of the messages we're getting from every different area and different direction of what we're supposed to be doing.
But the mere fact, like she says, that even a doll that represents a woman gets shit because she's a female doll, right? Because there has been so much controversy around Barbie over the years. Tons of different things, which really just, I think, is so representative of, you know, how difficult society can be for women. Just this, the constant values being thrown at us that we even do to ourselves, we do to each other.
Yes.
Right? The working moms and the stay-at-home moms need to just love each other and embrace each other and support each other's decisions, because no decision is wrong. It's okay if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, and it's okay if you want to be a working mom. And we should love and support each other in whatever decision we make that's right for us without, you know, it's back to that bag of shit, right? Throwing poo at each other because we're projecting onto each other our own guilt.
Yeah.
We feel so guilty that we're treating each other like garbage, right? And that's, I think, the point. So with that said,
Okay.
I'm going to make you read it. Here's the beginning. I might even cry with you reading it, but I'm going to try not to.
Oh, no. Okay.
Go.
It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can never say you want to be thin. Oh, this is rough. I am getting teary and not having glasses. This is bad.
If you want to pass it at some point, we have tissues.
Yes.
Here we are.
You
Go
have
ahead.
to say you want to be healthy, but you also have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also always looking out for other people. Scrolling down. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of a sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful. Never forget the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and no one gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm so tired of watching myself and every other single woman tie herself into knots so people will just like us. And if all that is also true for a doll representing women, then I don't even know.
You did it.
I did it.
I'm so proud of you. Yeah, it's powerful.
It is.
Yeah. I'm not crying.
Because I didn't pause at strategic moments like I probably should have, because the letters were so small that I would have lost my place.
We did it. So yeah, I just remember the first time I heard that speech when I was watching the movie. I mean, like literally, I like snot running out of my nose. I was like sobbing to the point where like people were turning around and looking at me. I was just like, like making noises. It was terrible.
But it's all the contradictions. It's like,
Yeah.
be thin, but not too thin. Be pretty, but not that pretty. Don't threaten other women. Don't tempt men, but still be pretty. Like it's so many contradictions. It's so many expectations.
But it's true. That's the worst
And
part.
no matter what you do, you're doing it wrong.
Well, no matter what you do, you're doing it wrong. And I think the worst part of it is we're doing that to ourselves, right? Because that's our inner dialogue that we're doing it wrong. But we have the power to change that. It doesn't have to be wrong.
So it's creating that new neural pathway of motivational, positive self-talk.
Yes.
And not going to the autopilot of, I'm not good enough. I'm not the best mom that I can be.
I am the best mom that I can be. And that's good enough, because perfect doesn't exist. We grow up learning that there's no such thing as perfect, yet we're striving for it anyway. That's insane.
It is insane.
Why do we do that?
Why do people do that?
We just had a whole podcast talking about why people do that. So I hope that that was helpful and makes sense to the people at home. And I think our call to action, what's our call to action?
Other than to like
Moms.
us and subscribe and follow us, but like what we're asking people to do.
We'll get to that. Yeah,
Okay.
before we get to that.
Okay.
Before we get to subscribe to our podcast, our call to action to moms everywhere. What do we
Oxygen
wanna-
mask. Take care of yourself.
Oxygen mask for yourself, not just so that you're still going to be breathing for
To
everybody
take care of,
else.
to save the kids.
Right? Because you need oxygen and you're a person, and that's okay.
And I guess just allowing yourself the room to do something for yourself, just for the sake of doing it for yourself.
That's okay. I think we have to come together as moms, as women, and change the narrative, right? I don't think it's the men standing in our way. I don't think they're the ones that are saying, no, this is your place. I mean, some of them maybe, right?
But no, we do this to ourselves.
We do this to ourselves. This is us, right? This is generations and generations and generations of societal norms that even though society has changed and shifted and the role of the woman has changed and the demands on the woman has changed, we're still stuck in old ways that no longer make sense for our lives. And we're splitting ourselves up into these different fragments and trying to be in 50 different places at once. And wherever we are, we feel like we're supposed to be someplace else, and we're never feeling good about ourselves. And that has to stop. So it's about allow yourself to be exactly where you are.
And I think that's a good point too, because you know, you're at one game and you're not at the other game and you're feeling guilty, but that takes away from being at the one game that you're at.
Oh yeah, I just
So
felt like
it's-
a complete piece of shit that day because I had to pick a kid.
Yep. So it's like being mindful and being present and staying in the moment. And yes, you're not at the other game for the other kid, but you're going to, you know, you might as well not be at the first game because you're not really allowing yourself to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Because we can only do what humans can do, right? I think the last thing I want to say is make room for yourself to be human, regardless of your gender, regardless of your role, whether you're a mom or a dad or just a woman or a man or a they or a them. Just let yourself be, right? We're all important. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
Nope. I like that we are all important
We are all important.
and deserving of being able to take time for ourselves and take care of our wants.
Call back to parents or people. My dead business. the first one I tried to start. Parents are people. All right. So with that said, thank
Follow us,
you.
like us,
Yeah. Thank you for
subscribe.
being here, pod people.
We hope that there was something helpful in here, that you could
Yeah.
relate to it and hopefully take something away from our little discussion.
Subscribe wherever you are watching us. And if you want to watch us in other places, just know we are on YouTube and Apple and Spotify and wherever people listen to podcasts.
iHeartRadio, that's where I listen to
iHeartRadio.
That's where I listen to podcasts.
Heather enjoys the fact that we're on iHeartRadio.
Because I can find it there.
You're going to find us everywhere before you know it.
That's true. We are going to be everywhere.
You know what? In order for us to be everywhere,
We need you.
need to subscribe. It helps a podcast. And if you help the podcast can keep helping you. So there we go. All right. So I'm Stacy.
And I'm Heather.
And we are
Why Do People Do That?
See you next time.
Bye.
Why Do People Do That is recorded and produced by Press Record Studios.